today's video. If you've been following my channel for a long time, you probably know that A, I'm obsessed with Portugal and want to go and spend a lot of time there, and B, it's quite a long-term goal of mine to become relatively location independent with work, making money through my channel so that I can spend some time in another country and still be able to support myself financially. Now, during the lockdown, I spent quite a lot of time just looking up videos on Portugal, just because I wanted to do a bit of armchair travelling, feel like I was there and get some inspiration for travels to come. And I came across, in my suggested videos, a video by a channel called Frugal Travellers. And I liked the look of the thumbnail and I clicked on it. And there they were, more or less almost living my dream, full-time travellers, and I instantly resonated with their personalities. I'm a bit of a frugal person myself. I'm not as frugal as them, mind. So this video today is actually a collab. It's one of two collabs. The other collab is going to be over on their channel. Anyway, this is a bit of a different video because theirs was a price comparison video comparing prices of UK Lidls with Portugal Lidls. But this one, Mandy was saying, well, what would you like us to do for your collab video? And I thought and thought and thought, but nothing would be more interesting to me than just asking them questions about their lifestyle, because it has so many similarities and some differences to what I aspire to do. So without any further ado, let me introduce you to Lee and Mandy.
Hello, my name's Mandy and I'm from New Zealand.
Hi, I'm Lee, I'm from the UK.
But we've lived in both the UK, New Zealand, and Australia as well.
And all around the world.
What's the weather doing in Portugal today?
No, we're actually in Abu Dhabi at the moment, in the UAE.
Yep, and the weather is 24 degrees today, a lovely winter's day.
Now, I know you've explained this on your channel already, but my viewers won't know. How did you meet?
We met whilst trekking in the Himalayas. We first met on Valentine's Day 1996 and then first kissed on Leap Year's Day 1996.
Yeah, it's a beautiful story. Two young backpackers travelling the world, Mandy from NZ, me from the UK, meeting halfway. Very romantic. There's an article on CNN about it.
Yeah,
yes.
The Chance Encounters series, which is so cool. Published, I think it was last January.
At what point did you decide that you wanted to travel the world full time, and what prompted it exactly?
Wow, I could talk for 30 minutes on this one. We've always wanted to travel full time. We've both got a massive passion on travelling ever since I was a teenager and I first left and went to Morocco. I loved it and I just wanted to travel. But for this journey, we decided to quit our jobs in Australia and actually travel full time 5 years ago, I think it is,
August 2017.
Yeah, over to you, Mandy.
Yeah, I think, like as Lee said, we've both always loved travelling, and I don't know, there's just this wonderful world out there. Neither of us have careers as such, and so it wasn't a matter of like, you know, going to university, working towards something and giving it up. We were able to like look at our lifestyles, work it out how much money we needed, and then go.
So my plan to be able to travel more is to do a bit of saving up while I'm working in the UK, but also to continue to build my YouTube income up as well, so that I can at least take maybe a couple of months a year in maybe the next few years abroad and doing a bit of exploring, vlogging while I'm out there and living a little bit on some savings that I've saved up during the rest of the year. But what was your plan?
Now, we're both very frugal by nature, which is why it's like the perfect name for us, like this channel, like Frugal Travellers, because we're frugal in life anyway. And so we were working like really hard in Australia for 5.5 years, and we worked out exactly how much we could save if we lived in like shared accommodation. We cycled everywhere. We used the library, never bought books, anything like that. All of our clothes are from second-hand stores. So basically, we decided to live on savings, and we have a small passive income as well that comes in.
Yeah, a little bit from YouTube, but basically we know that if we travel on $25 a day each per person, we can keep going forever. So that was the benchmark really, you know, and that's what we have to think about when we're traveling. Sometimes we might have to stop and house sit for a while or do a bit of WORKAWay, just so we know that we can keep to that budget and we can keep going.
But as Lee mentioned with the house sitting, like he actually made a video to show how much we spent or how little we spent after 1 year of house sitting in Portugal. That's helped build up the travel fund for longer.
Now, you made a lot of sacrifice when you were living so frugally while you were doing your saving up. And I just wanted to know if there were any real downsides to that you kind of felt was quite a big sacrifice at the time.
Now that's a really good question, Reed, like sacrifices we may have made. It wasn't so bad when we were like still working in Perth in Australia for 5.5 years, because we had the entertainment book and would go to like restaurants, buy one, get one free, or we used coupons and Groupons. So we were still eating out at like nice-ish restaurants like 2 or 3 times a week. But now that we're traveling, what we're finding is, like, we've got this budget, as Lee mentioned, but we don't spend enough money, I think, because we tend to be way under it. So I think the sacrifice for me is that instead of going to a nice restaurant whilst traveling, we'll go to the supermarket and we'll buy food for a picnic, and that's what we'll eat. So for me, that's the big sacrifice.
Yeah, for me, like the saving up stage of it, I tried to look at it as not sacrifices, but a challenge, like how can we save so much money by cutting corners,
Actually, you had a graph, didn't you?
I had a thermometer and it just went up and up and up and up and up, and that was like driving me on to my ultimate goal, which is a great thing to do in anything in life, I think.
Did you feel as though you sacrificed much?
Not really, no. It was well worth it for, like, the ultimate goal is freedom, and you can't put a price on that.
Do you actually feel that you have gained anything by living this way?
In terms of gains that we've had from living a frugal life, like with what Lee was saying earlier, I think the greatest gain of all is that we have freedom. We were able to retire in our late 40s. Like, I was 47, Lee was 46, and that's just so wonderful to not have to work from then.
Totally,
It's amazing.
The sacrifice is really material possessions. Like, we get, I think, a bit caught up with these things in life, and there's so many that you don't need. And when you're living out of a 40-litre backpack, you realise that less is best. And that's one of the big gains for me. Like, living a simple life is so much easier.
Because Lee is far more minimalist than I am. I was carrying like a massive backpack before, and for health reasons, you know what I mean? Like, it's not good for your back and your neck, etc.
Not at all.
I've had to cut
Less
down.
is best.
So here's the next question I've got for you. You made your plan a long time ago of how you were going to manage this great adventure, but time has changed and technology has changed, and I was wondering if it had panned out slightly differently and if you've changed the plan a bit as you've gone along.
Our plans have definitely changed, since we started travelling in 2017. Started travelling full time, I should say, because we've been travelling since the early 90s. Really.
Yeah.
But so when we left Australia in 2017, we were using mainly Facebook, and then in 2018 we started our Frugal Travellers blog and the YouTube channel as well. Like, 2 things we never thought we'd ever do, because we're not really into that side of things so much, marketing, etc. And then we did house sitting in Portugal 2021, something else we never had planned to do as such.
Yeah.
And WORKAWAY. But the things that have definitely made our travel life so much more rewarding, I think, and it's really helped with slow travel as well.
Definitely. I mean, it's changed dramatically since the mid-90s when we first travelled and there was no internet or anything at all.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? You've just got a guidebook and you're just winging it all the way. These days, technology has helped us in so many ways. There's so many brilliant apps and there's so many different ways you can find to save money while you're travelling and to make travel easier. So it's been revolutionary for us. And again, doing YouTube and actually being able to make a little bit of an income from it as well, that's helped in a huge way.
Definitely. I just remembered, when we were trekking in Nepal, when we first met in 1996, our friend Kirsty had an email address, and it took her ages to find an internet cafe in Kathmandu, but she's the first person that either of us had ever met who had email.
Who would have thought how things could have changed in these decades? Wow.
How many countries have you visited, if you haven't lost count?
How many countries? On this count, UAE is country number 110 of the 193 UN countries.
Yes, Lee's been to more than I have. I think I've been to 102. I've missed some out. I didn't go to
I travelled a bit in
Zambia.
South America before we met, didn't I? Yeah.
Yes, and the only country that I've been to that Lee hasn't been to is the Philippines. And I'm saying to him, no, we can't go there until I catch up a bit more. So.
And we've been going since, I started in 1991, so 30 plus years,
And my first foreign country, apart from Australia in 89, was Thailand in 1993. And Thailand's still one of my favourite countries. Food is still my favourite.
We love everywhere. We want to see everything. Hopefully one day, we'll just keep going while we can.
On a more serious note, do you ever find yourselves in any situations when you're right out of your comfort zone?
So in terms of being somewhere where I've been out of my comfort zone, the one that really comes to mind for me is India. We met in 1996 in Nepal, and then we went down to India for 6 weeks. And oh my word, the chaos, the bedlam, the poverty,
the attention you got probably.
Yeah, as well. It was really tricky because Nepal's, very Buddhist country. It's Hindu, but also Buddhist. But then we went down to India and I don't know. If you've seen the movie Slumdog Millionaire, that's sort of like what it felt like.
Yeah, we'd been in the mountains for quite a long time. Then we
Yeah.
went down to the beach, didn't we? But it was quite uncomfortable for you on the beach because
Yes.
of a lot of unwanted attention from other males. And like for me, I don't really feel like I've felt uncomfortable in many places, but I can understand Mandy, you know, as a female traveller, it's very different.
Yes, and it's only really been like India that I felt like that.
Yeah,
Other countries.
We've been in places where, you know, the situation hasn't been totally stable, you know, but we've always kind of avoided any trouble.
Yeah.
Like Nagorno-Karabakh or somewhere, you know, there was shelling going on in the distance, or, you know, there's the threat of potential danger. But, you know, whenever there is, like, we're out of there, you know, or we don't go in the first place. We do a lot of research. We make sure we don't get ourselves in difficult situations in the first place.
Now that you've been travelling for so long, does anywhere at all feel like home to you?
So in terms of a place feeling like home, for me, it is Portugal. And it's not just because we spent like 2 years there. It's just, I love the country. It's amazing, the lifestyle, the people, the food, the scenery. There's just something about it, something about the atmosphere. It's wonderful. So for me, Portugal feels like home.
And I think I have to agree with Mandy. It is amazing. But a lot of places feel like home, actually. You know, the UK, because I grew up there and like my roots are there. And Australia, we lived there for 7.5 years, I think. And that feels like home when I go back to Perth. So yeah, a lot of places.
I think I used to have a lot more homesickness when I was younger because like I left New Zealand when I was 19 and went to live in Australia for 5 years. And then I travelled a lot, like between Thailand, Japan and Malaysia. And I missed home a lot more. Whereas now, like I've been living away from New Zealand for so long that, I don't know, I think like when it came time to leave Portugal in November, I was so sad. I think I cried for days. Actually, if I think about it now, I'll start crying. So I'm not going to think about it for too much longer. Just move on quite fast. I think now I have more sadness about pets. Because we've, you know, especially in Portugal, but also in Australia, in Perth, like one of the cats we used to look after, Basil, he got in an accident, you know, a couple of years after we left. And when I found out, I was just so sad. Like he was okay in the end, but he, you know, took quite a while for him to recover.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's more like sad about pets. You know,
and family, of course.
Oh, yeah.
But you get emotionally attached to the pets. I know what you mean. You know, some of them, like we're wiping away the tears when we're leaving, you know, and we keep saying, I hope we can go back to that house at some time because, you know, we want to go back and see these beautiful creatures.
Yes.
Yeah. But for me, travelling, it's become a way of life, so it's not too bad. And now with technology, you know, wham, you're on Skype or Messenger and you can chat to family and friends, and that makes life so much easier. Like this lifestyle has been revolutionised by that.
What, if anything, about the UK or New Zealand do you miss?
The thing I miss most about New Zealand, like I'm so sorry, I know you're a vegetarian, but I really miss mince and cheese pies. Oh my word, New Zealand pies are like the best. I miss Whittaker's chocolate because it's incredible chocolate, and some of the like the corn snacks. I love like peanut butter and ration sandwiches. Incredibly unhealthy.
All about the cuisine, isn't it? Yeah, and for me, thinking about that, chicken tikka masala from the UK maybe, although they do it quite good here in the UAE. A pint down a nice pub somewhere in England, you know, like a 14th century pub with low beams, that kind of thing. And the English countryside is amazing. The British countryside, I love it all. Yeah.
What is your current daily budget per person?
So our average daily budget at the moment is $25, which is about £20.
Yeah.
And we have a habit of like deliberately going way under if we possibly can, and then, I don't know, not spending it the next day. So I said to Lee, I really want to bump it up to $30 a day, £25 a day.
Yeah.
And that way we might spend 20.
Yeah.
You know?
It is all flexible because, you know, if we're house sitting somewhere, then we spend a lot less, obviously, because we've got no travel costs and no accommodation costs. But then when we're on the road, it goes way higher. So it's give and take. Like next, we're going to Kuwait, one of the most expensive countries in the world, and the budget's going to be blown out the window. So it's up and down. We just try our best to keep it on a level to keep ourselves going.
Yeah, to keep the average, you know.
Yeah.
Reasonable.
But sometimes you need to have a bit of a blowout and have a nice meal or something like that, don't you? You know, we just got to push ourselves to do that sometimes.
Yes, got to force ourselves to. I'm going to hold you to that, Lee. Yeah. You told him,
This is live on camera. I can't turn that down now.
Is there anything that you really grieve the loss of that you can't afford now with your current lifestyle?
Probably like going out at whim, you know, when you meet friends and you just hit the bars and hit the clubs and not thinking about how much you're going to be spending, because those days were great when you were working full time. You say you made a lot of money and then at the weekend you just blew it and hit the town, you know, and it didn't matter. We don't really do that anymore, do we? So I do miss that, I suppose.
Yes, and for me, I kind of miss in some ways the days when like we used to buy like normal type flights. Like we used to fly with Thai Airways and you'd automatically get baggage and you'd automatically get food and drinks on board. Whereas now we'll tend to always just fly with like low-cost carriers. We've been flying a lot with Wizz Air and Ryanair.
It's taken the shine off international travel a lot, hasn't it? Yeah, the free drinks trolley doesn't come around as often as it used to, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm trying to fit as much in my pockets as I possibly can to take just carry on. Because we've only just started flying again, actually.
Yeah.
We travelled overland for 3 years and 7 months, I think, to 15 different countries. But now we're flying again and like the world's opened up once more.
Back to budget airlines.
Also, on a quite serious note, do you feel that your frugality impacts you socially at all? Like for me personally, like I always try to live on a very small budget as well, and not as small as yours, but like I get in situations sometimes like when I'm down the pub and people are doing rounds and they are, you know, going, right, my round, and buying 8 drinks, and it's always really awkward, and I'm always like, oh, I'll just have a pint of tap water, or oh no, don't worry about me, because, you know, I wouldn't be drinking 8 drinks and that night I couldn't afford it, so, you know, 1 to 2 is more my drink kind of capacity, and then often it'll be a soft drink to sort of reduce the price. Do you ever find that there are certain social situations you just bow out of before they even come about because of that sort of awkwardness and just that sort of thing, really? Days out, trips out with people that you can't afford to go on, that sort of thing.
So in terms of social settings, like I think coming from New Zealand, we don't really go in rounds. So when it comes to going to the pub, I've got no qualms whatsoever and saying like, oh, I'm not going in rounds, I'm just going to get my own drinks. Or, you know what I mean?
It's that way, yeah.
In that
because
way,
you drink at your speed.
Exactly.
And how much you want.
Because we had friends who used to drink quite fast, so that's like mainly blokes, and I'd be trying to keep up with them, and that was just a nightmare anyway. And like we know that we're frugal, and our friends and family aren't as such, and so we prepare ourselves, I suppose, that if we're going to go out with them, you know, I'll check beforehand, are we going to like split the bill, or is everyone going to pay for themselves? Because a lot of restaurants are quite good now at letting people pay for themselves. But I will know that, you know, when we go out, I'll tend to just have, say, a main, but friends are going to have entrees, a main, they're going to have a dessert, they're going to have, you know,
we'll try and do a bit of
something.
research in advance as well, and divert them towards somewhere that's good value, you know, and the good way to save money is to sometimes, you know, to be prepared and sort of do your homework beforehand. And we probably gravitate towards the people who aren't too extravagant as well, you know, because obviously it's not going to work.
But I don't know, but with family, like we definitely have family who they know how to lead a good life and they really enjoy themselves. And, you know, and I keep saying to Lee, I want to be more like them. But the brilliant thing now is having this channel, we can just say to them, like, guys, seriously, Frugal Travellers, we're not going to go somewhere where it's 25 quid for a main, let's find somewhere cheaper. So that has been absolutely brilliant, actually.
People know what to expect with us now.
Lee, Mandy and I are all Duolingo buddies. It's like when you go on that app, you can actually friend people, well, follow people and have them follow you, and you can high-five each other when you reach certain goals. You get a notification, it'll say, Mandy completed 10 lessons in a day, give her a high five, and I'm like, yay. And it's a bit silly fun, really. But anyway, which languages are you both learning, and how much time do you devote to learning each one on an average day?
Duolingo, it is amazing. I love it, and it's really helped me learn a lot of languages. So I was studying languages before it came along, but I'm using it as well, but mainly Spanish, French, Portuguese are my Latin-based languages that I'm reasonable at different levels. I did Russian as well before we travelled through Russia and the former Soviet countries, and that came in really handy, didn't it? For over a year or so we were travelling there, so that come on. And now I'm doing Arabic because we're in the Middle East, and that is a massive challenge, and it's going to take years, I think, for me to get to. I'm at the stage now where I can recognise a few symbols and make a few sounds, but yeah, it's great fun. I love it, and it's one of the best learning tools that there is out there, I think.
And you spend quite a lot of time on it, don't you?
30 minutes to an hour a day probably in order to get somewhere.
And for me, I study at the moment Spanish, Portuguese, and I play Duolingo like a game. There's certain things you have to do. And so I've also got like French and German when I need to, like, I don't know,
get more points
or get double points or something
stories.
or other. But I'd like to say, like, a huge thank you, Imo. Like, you are so kind. Imo added Lee onto her family plan, which is so lovely, which means that Lee has got unlimited hearts. I don't have to hear him cursing anymore because he's run out of heart.
I don't have to watch all the ads, so you pay a bit for that, and then you get rid of the ads, and you get a lot of benefits. So thank you so much, Imo. You have made life so much more
You've
wonderful.
made my life so much better as well. Like, thank you.
Staying on the topic of language learning, as travellers of the world, has this influenced the way you approach your language learning and your attitude to maybe how you want to be able to speak the language in a way that's maybe different from somebody who doesn't travel?
For us travelling, you know, you want to interact with people, so like it really does drive you on to try and learn something, you know, and if you can just get some basics, you can just get a dozen or so phrases that change totally like how people interact with you. As soon as you say something in their language, often, you know, their attitude towards you changes, their face lights up, and they want to help you. They respect the fact that you're giving it an effort. So I love doing it, and it really drives me on to do it more and more.
Yes, I think numbers are really good, like when you're bargaining kind of thing. And like when I was in Romania recently for my dental work, I learned like thank you is mulțumesc. And so, you know, every time I said that to anyone, like, honestly, as Lee said, their faces would seriously light up, and all I was saying was thank you. And it was just really nice. It's such a lovely feeling.
This is probably a bit of a weird question. It came to me while I was practicing my flute the other day, right? Do you feel that exploring and sharing it with others is a vocation? And if so, what value do you think it brings to other people?
When we started the blog and the YouTube channel, like my main purpose in doing it was because my Facebook posts were really long, and I realized that like our friends and family weren't that interested in like the cheapest way to get from Hong Kong to Macau. You know what I mean? So we wrote the blog to like share budget travel information with other people. And the thing that I personally have really noticed from our time in Portugal, we had a lot of like American people, like similar age to us actually, or like, you know, late 40s to like early 60s. And they really wanted to travel, but they'd never really traveled independently before. I think they'd gone through the whole thing in life of like, you know, went to university, had kids have left home, and then suddenly now they're like, what do they want to do? And they just weren't too sure about how to go about traveling independently. And so we've had so much wonderful feedback from that, from like comments that people have made and, you know, conversations we've had.
That drives you on, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does.
We realise we know a fair bit about travelling and getting around. It's become like second nature to us, and we know that we can give people some good advice and help people, like, you know, get over the fear of travelling, you know, and then hit the road and then achieve all their dreams. So we really do want to try and inspire people to do it themselves and to help them along. You know, if they have questions, they write in the comments and we give them some advice or something like that. And we love sharing our journeys as well with people.
Yeah. I think one of our viewers once wrote this lovely comment, and she said that our videos give practical information and prices. And it's like, oh my word, Christine, that is so spot on. You know, it's like she's summed up exactly like what I'm aiming for. A lot of YouTube vlogs, they show you somewhere it's pretty and that's it, you know, which is great. But sometimes you want to know a bit more. Like, how do you actually get from A to B? What does it cost? And what are the pitfalls that you want to avoid whilst doing it? And that's what we try and do in our video. Well, where do you get the bus from? You know, how do you find out the information about where the bus goes? Where are the toilets? Where are the toilets? That is one of the things about my videos. It's because I always need the loo. And so I'm always like looking around, and I want free toilets. I don't want these blinking paid ones. So the videos are reality, not glamour. You know, it's not all shiny and drone shots and stuff. It's a bit nitty gritty, but it's trying to give you the advice that you really need. Yeah, practical information and prices. Can you tell us about your blog, as in your website, and are you still updating it today? We've put a lot of information on there, but as Imo has asked, we don't really maintain it that much now. It's fallen by the wayside, and we're focusing purely on the travel vlog, Frugal Travellers on YouTube. All of our budget travel advice that 30 years of budget travel advice is there if you want to learn how to travel on a budget. What do you have planned for your channel in the coming months and maybe up to the end of the year, if you know that far ahead? In terms of our channel over the next year or so, we've just
finishing off a few Portugal videos, which we've been catching up on. We're always running a little bit behind because it takes 10 hours to edit and we're on the move and we're doing things. So bear with us on that. But finished the Portugal ones, and then now we've started traveling from Portugal. So we went to Romania for a while, but we had some technical problems there, didn't we?
Yeah.
And we need to corrupt card. Whoops, that might not happen. But anyway, now we've come to the Middle East. We've been in the UAE. We're traveling around this region for a while. Some very interesting countries that will be worth seeing. Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain. We're going on to Thailand and then back to New Zealand and Australia. So we'll be catching up with all the Middle East videos while we're there, won't we?
Yes.
And then onwards.
Yes, and onwards. Because we do like planning, you know what I mean? We really enjoy this.
Yeah.
So then after Australia, around June, I think, we're looking at Sri Lanka,
Yeah.
the Maldives on a budget. This is going to be so much
Maldives
fun.
on a budget, that'll be a challenge, yeah.
Then coming back to the Middle East.
Yeah, we've got this house sit back here again, which we just can't refuse. And then we've got more house sits in Portugal later in the year. So there'll be some travel videos, and then we'll be back in Portugal towards the end of the year. And it'll be wonderful to see the animals there and to taste Portugal once again. So
fantastic.
if you followed us for just Portugal content, like, don't leave. We will be going back to Portugal. And if you want to follow us for travel content, there'll be plenty of that too.
And I'm really hoping that one day we'll get to meet you, Imo, like in person, whether it be in the UK or in Portugal. That would be so cool.
Thank you so much to Lee and Mandy for being my interviewees. I will obviously link their channel and some specific videos that I'm going to handpick that I think you might like particularly. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Imo, for inviting us onto this, like, I don't know, Q&A session. It's been absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you also for all of the hard work you put into like the little comparison videos, because that was amazing. I was really surprised with the result. And I'd also like to thank you for all of the incredible like advice and help you've given us, like as fledgling YouTubers. You've been so kind. You've given us loads of brilliant GoPro advice.
Imo is brilliant. Yeah, we can't say enough about her. She's
kind
fantastic. Thank
and
you
wonderful.
so much.
She's just as nice in real life as in her YouTube videos. So Imo, thank you. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And it was a pleasure chatting, and we'll see you sometime on the road.
Yay.
Bye.
Bye.